Hello, everyone, and welcome back to VectoScalar Tech Talk show. You have been an amazing audience attending all our tech talks in the past, and I'm sure you will continue the same support for us in the future as well. Like every episode, we have amazing guests who share their insight and experiences with our audience. And in the same series, in this episode of VectoScalar Tech Talk, we have Mr. Kamal Rawat, who will be talking about future of software engineers. Welcome, Kamal, to the show.
Hi Vikas, thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks. Thanks for being on the show. And for the audience, let me share the background of Kamal Rawat. Kamal Rawat is the founder of Ritambhara Technologies. He has previously worked with Microsoft, Adobe, Samsung Research, and many more such eminent companies. He is a software developer who has worked at architect level on large scale complex products like Microsoft PowerPoint and Adobe Photoshop. He is the author of 5 books covering coding, interview, and system design. He is working closely with IT professionals and engineering colleges on redefining the way software education is imparted. So, Kamal, probably let's start with first thought process that usually people who are in IT think of becoming a better professional or keep growing in their career. So, how the transition happened that you wanted to share these insights with others and professionals? So, how does that happen?
Which transition? My transition.
Your transition, yes.
I think it is, it was very organic because I was working as a developer in Adobe when I started giving free seminar in colleges. So somehow, giving those seminar in colleges kind of excites me. I like being with students. Then I started giving seminars to professionals. So, connecting this academic thing kind of excites me, and natural progression to academics is, you become an author. So I wrote a book, the book became popular. So it became so popular. So I wrote a book accidentally, and it was a very small book. The book was on dynamic programming. Later, I realized that it was the first book on dynamic programming, which was written like that. So I wrote that book because I thought that dynamic programming questions are supposedly the most difficult ones. So let's handle this one. So I wrote a very small book, 142 pages, but that book became popular, very popular, very fast worldwide. So I thought that maybe that has clicked, and it's a natural thing. So I moved to academics. For some time, for few couple of years, I tried to handle both my development career in Microsoft. At that time, I was in Microsoft, and my academics where I was teaching. But I guess the teaching was more exciting, so I thought of making this shift.
That's uh, that's very inspiring that you chosen the untraveled path. Not many are able to do that, and helping others to develop their core skills. Now, let's talk about software engineers. So, what differentiate 10x developer from others? Because you have been in big brand companies who are known for hiring the extraordinary developers. They are highly paid, they are very smart, they are very super intelligent, and in industry we call them 10x developers. So, what differentiate 10x developer from others in your experience?
Yeah, so we have to think uh, because there will not this will not be one fit for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that because in industry there are so many job profiles, right? Earlier there were people in the QA, there are people in the management side, there are people in the designing side, there are UX developers, then there are actual developers who are writing the code and all that, right? So for all of them, the journey will be very individual, very different. But one thing which
Yes.
is common probably across this high growth individuals. So this is like the book of Stephen, seven habits of highly effective people. So what we are saying is that what is the common denominator of all of these people who are performing well in their vertical in the IT industry. So
Yes.
I think probably two things which are common, and maybe we can come up with more things. Is that first of all of them are very good problem solvers, right? So they don't leave the problem on the table. They try to solve the problem on their own, right? They gather the resources, whatever resources are required to solve the problem. So they don't procrastinate. They don't transfer the buck. In fact, they try to solve other problems also, right? So if a team member in my team is facing some problem, so I will consider that problem as my problem and not just shrug it away and try to solve that problem. So this is common across all the people with whom I have seen growing high in the ladder. Second is that they are very fast and they are very innovative in their problem solving. So very fast, very innovative, and very good problem solvers. One good thing is that in their free time they are learning. They are they are spending their free time in learning about the ecosystem of their own industry. For example, if someone is working in Microsoft, then and he is a developer, so there are times, there are phases when the time when you have that lull phase in the development where the work pressure is not that high.
Yeah.
In that time they are kind of building their foundation, they are talking to other teams, they are learning that okay, so other teams are working on these modules. So they have that kind of width across the industry, within their company as well as outside the company, that what are the new technologies which are coming in their domain, right? So if it is a developer, then he will if it is a, let's say, front end developer, then he will know a lot of things about emerging technologies in front end. He will
Okay.
be attending a lot of conferences, he will be on his own, right? So these are the things which you can't push the other person, that hey, you should have interest in this, right? So interest is something which comes from inside. So they are the people who enjoy these things. So I think this is the common denominator of all the high performers in the industry, especially in the IT industry.
Yeah, and thanks for explaining in such a great detail that the fundamental is problem solving. I think it's been age old that the foundation of each and everything is problem solving. So they are good at problem solving. They are fast in learning new things. They are innovative and they are exploring the industry. And that differentiate the 10x developer from others. Thanks for Kamal for sharing this thing. And for the audience, in case you have any question for Kamal Rawat, you can type in the comment box below on whatever platform that you are watching this video right now, and I'll be taking all those questions with Kamal slowly and gradually. But do type in your question in the comment box below, and in case you want to share your experience as well, if you resonate with the thought that just shared by Kamal, you can still mention that thought in the comment box below. Now moving to the next question, Kamal, we are part of VectoScalar Technologies. Now, what VectoScalar Technologies is into building custom software for others. Now, technically, on one side, on the business side, we are providing IT services. So one may call us as a service company. Whereas the engineers that are there, they are building the product for others. They are not building for the company, but they are building for the clients, which means they are having product skill. With that background, I have seen that so far, majorly IT industry in India grown from the service perspective. People are aware about the top service companies that are there. But lately, with the advent of new products that are emerging from India, we are seeing a transition from these service companies to a focus on developing product. So, what differentiate, in your experience, a product developer from a service level developer? Because the pay packages are quite different, their skill is quite different. So, there are a lot of differences. In your experience, what are those key differences between a developer who is working in a product company versus a service company?
So because as you said that not all the service companies can be put in the same bracket. There
Yeah.
are service companies which are like dumb service companies. I'm sorry to use this word, because what I'm trying to say is that when a service company is dumb service company, they are not focusing on any kind of research. They are not even building reusable products for themselves which can help them in serving the client better. For example, if one client is asking for a product or for a module, the other client may be asking for the similar module. So if you are building the module only for this client, then you will be rebuilding the exact same module, right? Redoing the same work again and again. But if you are an intelligent service provider, what you will do is you will probably extract the reusable component out of that module, so that that component can be kept in your bucket, and that reusable component can be used whenever other companies are asking for similar, if not exactly same kind of product. So this is the distinction which I want to make. Second thing is that most of the service companies were actually just doing body shopping earlier. I'm talking about a couple of decades back. So they were
Yeah.
just doing body shopping. Their interest was in somehow getting the project from the client, and they used to tap very big clients like governments and all. And because they know that, if they once they get the government project, or once they get a very big project, then that project will go on for years. And there are phases in that project where no development is happening, nothing is happening, they are just billing the client, all those things are happening. So this is a kind of shady business a lot of companies were earlier into, right? So
Okay.
probably those companies are also, we can put them aside from the point of view of service companies. Now if we notice that the distinction between service company and product company is essentially, I mean, good service companies and good product companies, it is essentially at the top level. So in the top level, a product company is thinking the product as its own. I'm sorry, it's a just give me 1 minute, because a lot
That's
of wind is coming.
sure. So in the meantime, it's a question for the audience that in your experience, what do you think what differentiated an ex developer from others? And if you want to grow your skill, if you want to grow your technology, what is your next target? You could type in the comment box below, sharing what do you think are the core things that you are developing your skills on, or probably the possible question that you have that I'll be taking up with Kamal. Yes, Kamal, please go ahead.
All right. So what I was saying was that, from a junior developer point of view, whether you are working in a service company or you are working in a product company, in a service company, you are getting your requirements from the client. In a product company, you are getting your requirements from a product manager, right?
Yeah.
So a very junior developer, from the point of view of a very junior developer, whether it is a product company or it is a service company, he is not having control over the requirements. He is getting the
Yeah.
requirement from some person, and he is just delivering to the requirements, right? So at the end, a service company is answerable to the client, whereas in a product company, the team is answerable to the product manager, that I asked this, whether or not you deliver this or not, right?
Yeah.
So from the point of view of up to level probably 65, uh, these two companies are similar. What happens is that most of the service companies, because we are having this distinction here, so most of the companies, they stop owning the product, they stop thinking about the optimizations in the product, because the product is not their own. So they are not taking the feedback they are not taking the feedback bottom up. Whereas in the product companies, it is encouraged that the bottom up feedback is encouraged. Why? Because if I am a product manager and this is my product, I will probably ask the development team that, hey, what do you think? This is, I am thinking that maybe we should build it like this. What do you think? So the suggestions of a junior team is taken very well in the product companies, whereas the tendency of management of a lot of service-based companies is that they don't take the feedback of the junior developers very seriously, because they are not owning the product. So
Okay.
this is a clear difference. So the junior team, the junior team is not building the kind of intelligence or the kind of love for their product that they should be having. So that's why probably this distinction between service company and product company, in my opinion.
Okay, okay, that's quite insightful. Yeah, that you explained that probably there are three distinction of developers in that case. The first one who are probably doing the mundane work, not applying any innovation. So whatever is required, they'll just copy paste and apply that thing. That's the lower bottom. And then at the middle level, though people are developing the product, but to what extent they are pursuing to achieve the excellence. So probably in the service company, if it is driven by the external forces, the client forces, so they'll just make sure that they are fulfilling the benchmark of the service company, the client company. But in the product company, because it's a all ongoing journey, especially the junior developers are forced that they should think beyond out of the box and keep pursuing better to improve the product. So that could differentiate. So probably I'm getting a second thought from this perspective that these are the external forces, but from a developer perspective, they can always think beyond and grow beyond their limits. So for example, even though I might be in the bottom type of environment where the companies might be just expecting me to do the mundane work without applying the innovation, but still I can do some level of improvement at my level to understand the business requirement and probably make that suggestion to the managing managers that okay, this might be another improvement that can be incorporated. I've tried, I've done the POC. So probably it's pursuit of personal excellence that I would say
Exactly,
will matter,
exactly,
right?
exactly. So this is probably the 10x developer definition. that
Yeah.
even if you are working in an environment which is not encouraging innovation, but still you are innovating from inside. So that that drive for innovation is coming from inside.
Yeah.
See, you may have a very bad developer working in a very good company, or you may have a very good developer working in a bad company. I'm,
Yeah.
loosely speaking,
Yes.
right?
No, I can
So
understand.
the journey of a person's career is very individual, right? It is not related to, it is not bound with the growth of the company or the product the person is working in. So I have seen people who started very modestly from a very small package, with a very small package, but the kind of ladder that they have grown up to, whether in a service company or in a product company, doesn't matter. In a small company also, I have seen people in very small companies having 10 or 15 developers. So those people have also grown a very, those people have seen a very good growth in their career.
Okay, okay. And probably nowadays, when especially we are talking about product level of companies, these are the small companies, small member companies, I would say, that have grown and achieved great height. For example, WhatsApp, when it was acquired, there were around I think 40 to less than 50 developers who built that product called WhatsApp. So,
I
which
think the
means the
entire
small
staff
team
count was
also
probably
achieved
50.
excellence.
The entire
Yeah.
staff count was 50, including the receptionist.
Oh, then that means the developer count was even lesser.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now moving to the next question. So far we have seen that one of the primary thing for hiring any product developer is DSLGO. Whenever product companies are hiring and you have written books on the same, you are coaching even the professional, not just the engineering students, that how they can improve their DSLGO skills to get a better product company and get a better profile. So what is so unique about DSLGO? Because when students are taught during the college or probably any MCA program, any computer science program, they are taught some 30 to 35 subjects in every semester. So over the course of the full course of 3 years or 4 years, but there is not any priority given to any particular subject. But when they come out in the industry, they see nowadays, especially, that everyone is talking about DSLGO, developing coding skills, competitive programming. So, what is so unique about DSLGO that makes it so important?
So so this is going to be a long answer. Just be patient with me. I'm going to differ with you
Sure.
a lot on so many points. Right. First
Okay.
of all, let's say Amazon asked you a question that how will you implement a thread safe queue, right? So thread safe queue, which means that you have to implement a queue data structure in such a way that that queue data structure can be used in multi-threaded environment using producer threads and consumer threads. Okay.
Sure. Yes.
Now you can say that this question is this question requires DSLGO, but essentially this is operating system problem, right? So what I'm saying is that whatever code you are writing, that code is going to have one or more data structures, and that code is going to use one or more algorithm, right?
Yeah.
That is the fundamental of every code, right? Whatever code we are writing, irrespective of whether we are writing that code in a company like Cadence, which is a semiconductor company, or we are writing that code in company like System, which is a networking company, or we are writing that code in Microsoft, which is a product company, which is building software application products. So irrespective of where the IT developer is working, that developer is essentially writing the code. And if he is writing the code, essentially he is dealing with data structure and algorithm, right? The
Yeah.
problem here, the problem, I'm sorry, I'm using the word problem, so that sounds a little negative, but what I'm saying is that
That's okay.
the
Yeah.
misconception is that people kind of bucketize the entire syllabus of computer science in two different buckets. That one bucket is the practical aspect of computer science, where you are writing code, doing all that problem solving fun stuff, and second is the theoretical aspect of computer science, where you are learning about operating system, DBMS, networking, all those things. Now you are from Delhi University. I am also from Delhi University.
Yeah.
That when we used to study networking, the kind of assignments that we used to get for networking were how will you implement FTP protocol, right?
Yes.
So in my during my masters, I got an assignment in networking class that hey, that you have to implement a chat server, or you have to implement a file transfer protocol, more like FTP, using RS-232 communication cable. All right. So in networking, essentially we are writing code, right? So irrespective in operating system, threads, processes, memory, virtual memory, all of these, essentially everything will boils down to writing code. In DBMS, how are you using the DBMS? Essentially, you are writing the code, right? Whether you are using RDBMS or you are writing SQLDB, right? So
Okay.
everything about computer science is writing code. And whenever we are writing code, we are dealing with some data structure because we are storing some value and we are dealing with some algorithm, right? So earlier, when companies like a lot of service companies, big tech service companies, when they used to hire, they were not asking, and I'm talking about some 2 decades back, they were not asking a single problem related to computer science. So they were hiring people based on their street smartness. They used to ask logic. They used to ask quantitative aptitude. So because they were hiring mechanical engineers also, they were hiring civil engineers also. So the perception in the industry grows that, hey, there are software developers who are doing non-technical stuff, and there are software developers who are doing technical stuff, which means developers. Now what happens is that because of this AI and all these things, this self-managed code, co-pilot, all of these things, now teams have become self-managed, right, with this scrum model and all those things. So the people manager profile, where the person is there only to manage other people, so those kind of profiles are diminishing, those kind of profiles are going away.
Okay.
The black box testing has almost already gone away. Earlier, almost 20-30% of the workforce of Adobe was black box testers. People who are not using, not writing any code, they are just black box testing their product. Now that kind of profile is zero. So now Adobe has zero black box testing profile, people working in Adobe, as far as
Okay.
my knowledge is concerned. Microsoft also does not have a role called SDET. Earlier, that SDET, Software
Yes.
Development Engineering Test, that profile was used. So now those kind of roles have gone away, and the entire industry has come down to the basics of computer science, which is writing code. So when you are writing code, people think that they are dealing with only data structure and algorithm. But I want to ask you that in an interview, I have taken a lot of interviews, and
Yes.
in an interview of, you pick any company, Meta, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, whenever, none of these company is asking a question which is directly related to one data structure or one algorithm. Let me elaborate.
Yeah.
There are so many algorithms in graph, but no company will ask you how will you implement the Ford Fulkerson flow control algorithm, or how will you write the insertion logic of AVL tree, or let's say, so these are the algorithms, these are the fixed algorithms. Companies
Yeah.
will not ask, hey, how will you implement binary search? They may ask a question which is using the logic of binary search in that problem, but essentially they are giving you a problem, and they are expecting you to solve that problem. Now, depending on your kind of experience and the kind of profile that you are applying for, that the nature of the problem and the nature of the solution that they are expecting will change. So if you are applying for a very very high, let's say architect level role, then they will probably give you a problem like, hey, how will you make sure that the timeline of Twitter will get loaded in 1 second, right? So this is also a problem. For that, this problem, they are not expecting you to write the code, but they are expecting you to solve this problem. So to solve this problem, you need to provide an architectural level solution, which will essentially again go down to code when you implement that. You understand what I'm saying, right? So
Yes.
essentially, everything is about problem solving, irrespective of uh, which ladder you are at in the organizational structure of the company. So everybody is solving a problem, right?
Got
So
it. Got it.
my suggestion is that you should never think about these interviews, or you should never think about the working of industry from the lenses of data structure and algorithm. Because if we think
Yes.
about that, then there are people who are very very good, they know all the data structures and they know all the algorithms. Because what, how many data structures are there, right? So there are hardly 10-15 data structures, you can count them on your fingers, right?
Yep.
Similarly, how many algorithm or how many algorithmic techniques are there, you can again count them on your finger. There are hardly 20-30 techniques. So most of the people who does their BTech computer science, or who does their engineering in computer science, know all the data structures and they know all the algorithms. If it
Yeah.
is only about data structure and algorithm, then all of them should get hired. So if they are not getting hired, it is because they are good in theorems, but they are not good in solving the mathematical problem which is using those theorems. So data structure and algorithms are just theorems. If you know the theorems, it doesn't mean that you will be able to get distinction in your mathematics exam.
Okay. Okay. I understand when you mentioned in the beginning that it's going to be a long answer. It was a long answer, but it required that level of explanation because there are many dimensions to that answer. And I could understand from your reply that fundamentally we are talking about software development engineers. So whatever technical knowledge they might have, if they are working in say security company, they might be dealing with buffer overflow attack or that kind of thing. If they are in a networking company, they'll be doing the network layer protocol writing, or if they are in a DB intensive company, they might be writing and handling the SQL. But at the fundamental level, how they are writing is a code. So probably that becomes probably the common foundation that they have to write the code at the end of the day, and they are expected to write a very high performance code, and that's why probably that foundation became to that level that okay, everybody is talking about coding, and probably the competitive programming people are talking about the lead code. I have one question coming from Rohit, who is asking that till how many years of experience DSLGO is asked in the interviews, because at least at the fundamental level the first round is always the coding round. So like, is it like 10 years, 15 years, till how many years DSLGO is in the interview process?
So it depends on which company you are applying for. Then I can be very, very specific. For example, if you are applying for Google, then even if you are 20 to 25 years of experience, you will still be asked, you will still be facing at least one coding round.
Okay.
Obviously, if you are, let's say, 25 years of experience, then in the coding round, the syntax as such is not important, right? So if you are
Okay.
missing semicolon here and there, the approach of the way the interviewer will look at your solution will be a little different, because he will look at a little higher level of abstraction than following the syntax, right?
Okay.
But uh, you will be asked to write the code, or you will be facing at least one coding round, depending on the ladder you want to apply. So even if you are, let me give you an example. Let's say you want
Sure.
to apply for the job of a senior engineering manager, which is roughly 15 years of experience in
Okay.
companies like Microsoft, right? So
Sure.
if you are applying for a senior engineering manager profile, then what will you do on your day-to-day basis when you join the company? On your day-to-day basis, you will be reviewing the design that your team has built. You will be reviewing the code that your team has worked on, right? So I have seen even director level people in Microsoft who are reviewing the code of individual developers, right?
Okay.
So you should have the capacity to review the code. So you will have that capacity to review the code only when you are yourself good in coding. So that's why the expectation is that even if you are not you are not applying for a profile which is directly related to writing code, still you will be facing a coding round, because the expectation from you will be that you will be reviewing, and you should be able to understand, and you should be able to talk in terms of code to the developers, because ultimately you will be talking, your team will be developers who are writing the code.
Got it. Got it. So the crux is
and
that
and this may be, and this may be different for different non-product based companies, where they are hiring specific program manager or people manager. So there they may not be asking that kind of code. So as your ladder grows, system design will become more important than coding, right? So like that.
okay, got it, got it. So it depends, certainly depends on the company. But again, when we are talking about development engineer, so one should have that skill. I remember there was one person who was working with me while I was in McAfee, and he used to do competitive programming problems. And currently he's in Google. So I used to ask him that why you are doing competitive programming, because typical patterns is when somebody is looking to switch the job, they start doing competitive programming so that they know more interview level problem. And to my surprise, his answer was, no, it's not for switching the job. It's just to get challenging thought process. I want to challenge my thought process. I want to see how difficult the programs could be and how innovatively we can find the solution for these problems. So it was never looking for or probably changing the job. It is to become a better developer, solve more critical problems, and probably that's what made the DNA for Google. That's how he's got selected in Google. Rohit, thanks for asking your question, and I hope your question is answered. So if whatever you are doing, keep focusing on your software development skills, it is going to continue in the future, right? uh, Now, my next question, Kamal, is towards the future, the how the trends are changing. Because nowadays, a lot of development is happening through artificial intelligence. There are co-pilot and similar programs by different companies offered by which are doing, which are even writing codes. The AIs have started writing codes. So, in future, what do you think? What will be the role of software engineers, and what should they prepare for right now for the future?
See, some 15, 20 years back, let's say 20 years back, when Google was not that rampant, at that time, one of the skills, one of the required skills, one of the expectation from the developer is that the developer must remember the APIs, right? So developer should know what all functions are there in the string class. Developer should know what all functions are there in the hash map class, like
Yeah,
that, right? When Google came and when IDE became mature, like
yeah,
Eclipse came in and all those things, right? So when IDE became mature and when Google came, then remembering the API is no more a required skill, right?
okay,
So then
yes,
then they started asking you, they started giving you problems, and they started focusing less on technology and they started focusing more on problem, right? Now at that now what is happening is that if you have a problem, and if you put that problem, if you put the statement of the problem in some AI based platform like chat gpt or any other platform,
yeah,
what happens is that you will get a code which will be accepted by most of these platforms like leech code or geeks for geeks. So so that's why probably for past 2 years Google has stopped conducting the annual developer event of Google, which is Google Code Jam, right?
okay,
So Google has stopped conducting that Google Code Jam because now the fun of that Code Jam is gone. Because earlier, that in that Code Jam, Google used to ask a completely new question which is not there on any portal. So everyone who is participating in that Google Code Jam, they used to take that problem, they used to solve that problem. Now with intelligence inside the computer, that computer is capable of providing the solution of that problem. So what happens is that someone need to be there who will kind of plug these solutions together, right?
okay,
So the intelligence is that a small problem can be solved, but these large systems, so there is no AI which can build Twitter for you, or which can build Facebook for you, or which can build a YouTube for you, right? So they may provide you very specific, very small solutions which will kind of combine together and plug and play to form a larger product, right?
okay,
So that intelligence need to be there. That the developer need to have that intelligence, that how these different pieces need to be plugged together, right? So that intelligence still require problem solving. That intelligence still require a lot of coding experience, right? So my suggestion is that, and this is what my thought is, that first of all, coding is changing the way it has changed earlier multiple times, right? So earlier people used to boast about the fact that they know all, they have by hearted the entire MSDN, they have
yeah,
remembered all the MSDN. Now this is no more a required skill. So only your skills are changing, but your problem solving ability will still be required. Just that the nature of the problem has changed. Earlier the nature of the problem was that you are solving only one function. Now the nature of the problem is that inside this big system, how will you fit this small piece,
okay,
right? So it will be some mix of system design and coding and maybe low level design. So a person need to have all that intelligence.
got it. Got it. So I think it's very well answered, Kamal, that things are changing, and definitely I think from where we started, that the fundamental skill is going to remain the problem-solving skill. So one should focus on problem-solving skill. The nature of problem might change. Now probably we can get the module written by AI for one of the problem, but how to plug two or three problems. So probably what kind of work might be done by say 10 people can be done by one person, where the job of that one person is to integrate all these different codes that they have received. I'm getting another question from Bhavna Mia, who is asking, what method or approaches have you found most valuable for enhancing your skills and capability as a senior software developer or technical lead, particularly for that level? I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So first of all, if you are at a position of technical lead or a senior software developer, then you are leading the tech team, right? So if you are leading a tech team, then you should know about what is how the industry or how outside the industry people are solving that kind of problem. So your width should be very very high, right? So even if your depth on on one particular technology is not that good, but you should know the alternatives of uh, uh, what your team is using, right? So this is one thing. Second thing is that you should be very quick as a technical lead. You should be very quick in unblocking the other people who are junior to you, right? So if a junior developer is stuck somewhere, then it is your responsibility to unblock him, right? So unblocking him means that you are a faster problem solver than that person, right? And you are a much bigger out of the box thinker than that person, right? So maybe that person is focusing only on that particular method, but what you do is, because you have the top down knowledge of the product, so what you will do is you will bring in other expertise from that product. So essentially what boils down to essentially everything will boils down to the fact that whenever you join a company as a tech lead, let's say you are a new person who has joined a completely new company as a tech lead, so the expectation from you is that you will learn the you will learn about the company's environment very fast, and you will be able to bring your previous experience into the work day to day working of that company. So, this is a very subjective thing that you brings to the table. You don't bring writing code to the table, but you bring reviewing the code to the table. You bring that you will be managing the entire product, right? So you will have that bird's eye view of the product. So if you are working in Microsoft and if a person is changing the font, then that if you are, let's say you are working in PowerPoint, so you should know that if I change this in PowerPoint, maybe this will have a ripple effect in MS Word, or maybe this will have a ripple effect in Excel. So that view may not be there with the junior developer, but as a senior developer, you should have that view. So this is the kind of thing that is required from a senior person, right? Essentially, you will be leading the tech team.
Sure. So just to summarize, there are many things, but first and foremost is having awareness about the alternative technology that is available, the one we are using, and how know the comparison between these few things, unblocking the team so that they can keep moving ahead with the development, and having the bird eye view so that they understand that what could be the impact from one side to the other side. Thanks, Bhavna, for asking your question. I hope your question is answered. We are running out of time, but I just want to take this last question that has come from Shubham, and then we'll close the tech talk for today. And thanks everyone for joining the show. Let me just take the last question. In case you have any commendation, we won't be able to take any further question. But in case you have any commendation, you want to share your thoughts, or you want to give something inputs in the comment box below, you can always do that. So the last question is from Shubham, who is asking, in what way do you think that remote work and distributive team will continue to shape the future of software engineering? Because nowadays people are working from home, people working from many locations, many countries. So how is it going to be in the future?
See, my personal opinion is that in 2019, when COVID strike, and when this working from home become a new norm. Even before that, work from home was given as an option in a lot of companies, but
Yeah.
this work from home was like once in a week or twice a week you are working from home. Now there are companies which are hiring lifetime work from home, so which are hiring people with lifetime work from home feature. It
Yes.
has both pros and cons, according to me, that the very fact that you are going inside the company, you won't be involved in the coffee pantry discussions, you won't be involved in the lunchtime discussions, and those things, when you are at the lunch table and when you are discussing with your colleagues, those are the things which used to enhance the overall personality of a developer, right? Not just the personality aspect, but even the software developer aspect of the person. So this
True.
proximity, the not having the physical proximity of intelligent people with you, that will sure have an impact, because the kind of growth that I have seen when a person joins the industry versus the person when the person stays at home, it is like, again, uh, so the advantage of joining a good company like Google is that in Google you will have a lot of peer pressure. In Google you will have a lot of peers who are superheroes. So you will learn a lot by just rubbing the shoulders with them. So those are the things which probably will have a long term impact. But most of the companies are working in the hybrid model. Obviously, like any other option, this is going to stay. So work from home is going to stay, but I think lifetime work from home is probably something which will not continue. So a mixed hybrid model that sometimes you are going to the office, then for a couple of days you are working from home. Probably those kind of thing will become a new norm for industry.
True, true. I understand your input and suggestion and your point of view. We had another guest just 2 sessions before. We had Sayam Bansal, who has been like with 8 years of experience. He has been a remote engineer working in international companies for last 7+ years. So he shared probably how they are compensating for that thing. So definitely there are advantages, but they were saying that how they have been using alternative methods to still use that kind of learning and informal discussion. But I totally understand and agree that working in person has their own advantages. I hope, Shubham, your question is very well answered. And with that
So
thought,
In
probably,
Microsoft
yeah,
also, Vikas, in Microsoft also, we used to have this, when we were 100% working from home. So we used to have this 1 hour coffee casual talk on coffee
okay,
online, right?
yeah,
So that is a kind of, alternative that we are using for the pantry discussion. But frankly, that thing will not completely replace the kind of impact that a physical proximity will have.
for sure, for sure. That has the advantage, and I think for that very reason, if for especially for senior people, company arranges that there are conferences and where people from different teams or senior, at least the senior people, are invited to come to a common location where they can share and interact those things. So definitely, companies also understand the importance of having a physical meeting at some point of time. Now, with that thought, I thank you, Kamal, for your presence and sharing your experiences with our team. Any parting last message for the audience that as a software engineer, how they can grow further in their career before we close the tech talk for today?
See, the most important thing for any career is that you should love that career, right? So if you love being a carpenter, you will be a very good carpenter. If you love being a, whatever profession you are in. So if you love being a developer, you will be a very good developer. So just because if you love being a developer, then most of the time you are just thinking of developing, right? You are thinking of writing the code, you are thinking about your product. And second thing is that the sincerity is very important. If you are working in a company, then the entire company should be able to count on you. So if they say that this person has taken the job, then they should count on you. Okay, so this person has taken the responsibility, he will be able to deliver. Or if he is not able to deliver, then he will be able to come to us before time, that these are the things which are kind of creating an hindrance, right?
Got it.
So just like that.
Okay, and that was very inspiring closure for the VectoScalar Tech Talk for today. That love what you do, and especially as a software engineers, love to be the software engineers. And with that thought, let's close the Tech Talk for today, and let's meet next week with another amazing guest. Until then, have a nice day ahead. Keep enjoying, keep working, keep loving the tech that you
Thank
are
you,
working
Vikas.
on. Thank you. Bye bye. Thanks, Kamal.
Thank you, Vikas.